Hey, welcome to Mikey's Video Game Madness. Today we're playing Resident Evil HD Remastered, or however you want to call it. As you can see, there's a difference between Chris and the original Resident Evil design and the remake design versus Chris now, which is that I believe that's his Resident Evil 5 outfit. So apparently after all the stuff that happened in the first Resident Evil and Resident Evil Code Veronica, which he was the second playable character after you finish the game as Jill, apparently had post-traumatic stress disorder and just decided to saturate his bloodstream with steroids and just working out constantly. Alright, so this is Resident Evil HD Remaster on the PlayStation 4. I originally did this on the PlayStation 3, playing as Jill. There isn't a whole lot of difference in terms of graphic fidelity between the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 versions of Resident Evil. Although, I mean, if I can get a slightly better looking version, it's like getting the DVD and Blu-ray, but there's not even that huge of a difference. The big difference is, if the only difference is, this game runs at 1080p, the originals run at 720p. I haven't seen the games side by side, but when I went to go play these games again on the PlayStation 4, I really couldn't tell much of a difference, but it is nicer to have. This was actually on the Resident Evil Origins collection, which also includes the Resident Evil remaster of Resident Evil 0. This is the first time you could get a physical copy on either the Xbox One or PlayStation 4, and for $40, to be honest with you, just one of these games, especially the Resident Evil HD Remastered, I'm not as big a fan of Resident Evil 0, but to me, in my personal opinion, that game alone is well worth $60. To get both games in physical form is $40. You can't beat it. I don't understand why Capcom didn't decide to release the Origins collection on the 360 and PlayStation 3, because I know a lot of people who haven't upgraded and would have liked to play these games on a physical disc. Now you can download both versions of this game on the 360 and PlayStation 3 on the on either the Xbox Live Arcade store or the PlayStation Network store. You could actually get a physical copy of the PlayStation 3 version of this game on not on anything, but on there I go again. You actually can get a physical copy of the PlayStation 3 game, but you have to import it, which I did, which is what I played. I've never downloaded this game before. I've always been a fan of this game. I had it originally on GameCube. I got the exact same version on the Nintendo Wii just so I could play with a normal controller. I absolutely think this is a fantastic game. This is the last real survival horror game in the traditional sense that was released beside Resident Evil 0 that I can recall, especially from Capcom or Resident Evil, that actually really made this series take off. Alone in the Dark was really the first game series to really do the whole pre-rendered and tank control thing, but you know, this game did it best, and the remake is awesome because beside the super popular puzzles, everything's rearranged. I decided to play as Chris this time just to make the video a little bit unique. I realized my mistakes on recording for PlayStation 3. As you can see, a lot of my older PlayStation 3 videos have partitions on the side, and basically what I didn't do and what the manual on on the actual recording device said. Sorry. I really wanted to record this video, but again, I don't want to keep on repeating myself, but there's just a lot on my mind. Sometimes I'm thinking about the second thing when I'm saying the first thing. I shouldn't even have to be telling you this. A good Samaritan would probably, before they put up the video, would edit out all their stuttering and everything, but since this is off the cuff and casual, this is how I would talk to my friends, stuttering and all, and I present to you the same kind of way I talk to my friends. So take it or leave it. I know it's not professional and super edited and really nice like a lot of people who review games, but don't mistake this for a review or let's play, because it's definitely not this. This is more just like shooting the shit with you while the game's playing in the background, which I think the first person I ever saw that type of video or do that type of video was Steve Benway, and I really enjoyed it, and he of course does it better than me. He also has a much larger following than me, but that was my inspiration for making these types of videos, because they were the types of videos that I really enjoyed. And to be honest with you, there's not a lot of them, and a lot of the YouTubers that used to make these type of videos have quit doing these kind of videos or just quit altogether. So yeah, so I guess I and maybe a handful others are keeping the ghost alive, I guess, of these off-the-cuff videos. Unfortunately, when you're off the cuff with making gameplay videos, they don't always go as planned with your commentary. It's not smooth, it's not as well thought out. But anyway, this is Chris's game. I always think of Chris's game as starting out harder, but in the end it ends up becoming a little bit easier because Chris is a stronger character, but there are a little bit of disadvantages of being Chris. What's great about playing as Jill is that she's able to pick locks, which is helpful. Chris has to get little keys to pick those little locks. Chris also can't hold as many items as Jill for whatever reason. It looks like his little vest would have more pockets, but I mean, there's also zombies, giant spiders, and all this other shit in this game, so yeah, suspension of disbelief, I guess. But what's kind of cool with the second playthrough is that you have to tackle the mansion a completely different way. It's not like playing with the same character and you do the exact same things. I meant to play as different character and do the exact same things. See, I said that backwards. I'm so on top of things today. But anyway, yeah. Jill has to find a lighter. Chris comes with one. Just like in the last game, you have to collect oil and you have to burn the zombies. Otherwise, they come back as Crimson Heads, which are super powerful and can almost kill you with 1 to 2 swipes depending on your status and the difficulty of this game. Since I paid my dues with original Resident Evil and since I'm recording a video, I'm playing this on easy. To be honest with you, this isn't an action game, and it's more about the puzzles. The puzzles stay the same. I always thought of this game as more of a puzzle game than an action game. There's action segments here and there, but it's pretty standard. The zombies move slow. If you manage to shoot first, you're usually good, as long as you don't, like, it's basically item management. The only thing I can see a difficulty, and I haven't played this particular version enough, but I think you get more bullets and stuff like that, so you can afford to miss. And really the only time you're going to miss is with smaller creatures like snakes and crows, which out of all the enemies in this entire game, the crows fucking annoy me the most. I don't know why. Like, even the snakes, they'll give you like poison status, but the crows, I don't know, it just doesn't work well with this game as mechanics go. But as far as the little animals and shit that you fight. Like later on in this game, spoiler alert, cover your ears for 10 seconds if you don't want to be spoiled by some of the enemies you'll come across. Alright, so yeah, this game has a cool creepy atmosphere, but when you're starting to fight tiny poisonous snakes and giant spiders and I guess even the hunters, which are these giant lizard men, look kind of creepy. I mean, not creepy, look kind of stupid. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I think the crows still fit in and give this game more of a horror section. But those other enemies I just mentioned kind of take me out. There's also cover your ears for another 3 seconds. A giant snake. Yeah. Luckily with that particular enemy I just mentioned, having analog control, which you can switch back to tank controls, by the way. If you watch the other video, you would know all this, but, you know, I don't know what you've seen and what you haven't. But yeah, like, some of these bosses that were challenging in the game are quite easy with the elimination of tank controls. Like, some of these enemies you can run circles around. So, especially easy, like, it's more about just solving the puzzles, which I kind of enjoy. Like, if you don't know the game, the puzzles aren't like some point and click old school style puzzles where they require like a lot of thought or they don't make a lot of sense. Like, the puzzles are pretty logical for the most part. You might get stuck every once in a while, but it's usually because you forgot to unlock a door or do something. There's a handful of puzzles, I would say, that aren't very clear, and I wouldn't necessarily even say that they're a puzzle. It's just not very clear that at a couple of points in this game that you are supposed to do something, at least in my opinion. Also, this game is full screen with the pre-rendered backgrounds. Unless they actually redid them, there's no way to like put those in widescreen without like stretching them. So they actually cropped the screen and made them kind of pan. Unfortunately, in some areas, now that I've played this game a lot more with the HD collection, I play a lot of it on GameCube, but that game wasn't cropped like with those. I think I'm gonna show you here actually. You'll see how much you're missing. Like, even though it panned all the way up, there's like, depending on how big your TV is, but there was a significant amount of space that was cut off, even though it was panned at the highest, and you barely could see like those mollusks flying around that light. It's not usually a problem, but there's a few areas, especially if you're like in an underground cavern area, where things kind of look similar, where the doors are, the entrances aren't always clear. That's also kind of a flaw with this type of genre of game, but you know, you get over it fairly quickly. You know, you get used to it. I much prefer the game being full screen than cropped, but they give you all the extra options. So if you just want a higher res version of the GameCube or Wii version, you can definitely get that, but I personally like the remastered. They also upgraded the character models, but you know, I really can't tell. I played the original games on a CRT television, and if you try to play the GameCube or Wii versions on a LCD screen, it's not clear to begin with. There's like a layer of fuzz. There's aliasing issues and stuff like that, which is jagged at edges. So I really can't tell the difference between detail, but a lot of the textures and stuff seem to be left alone. I think they kind of upgraded the textures maybe of like the characters and the enemies, but the items and stuff like that definitely have like GameCube Wii quality textures. Maybe they look a little bit sharper, but not by much, especially if you zoom in. It's not an issue. Like, the the main thing about this game that makes it fun is solving the puzzles and exploring. And to be honest with you, even though Resident Evil 2 is the Resident Evil that I've had most fun with, and I'm curious, as I say in most of the Resident Evil videos, what the remake's gonna be like. I have a feeling it's gonna be over your shoulder, like the Resident Evil Revelation games or Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. Hopefully they stick to at least the horror roots more, and it's not like a Michael Bay film. Although I did like Resident Evil 6, and 5 is growing on me. 4 is like 5 to me. It wasn't my favorite one. Like, honestly, this is probably blasphemy, but out of all 3 of those Resident Evils, I think I enjoyed 6 the most, and I think it was because you had all these different characters that you got to play as, and the gameplay was slightly different, and you could see the same events from different perspectives, and just that alone made it enjoyable. And Leon's campaign actually felt more like a Resident Evil game, which you really don't get too much anymore. If you want more of a Resident Evil experience, although I'm slightly disappointed with the co-op type play in Resident Evil Revelations 2, which you'll hear me talk about in that particular video. Maybe I'll do more. Some of these games I'd like to go back and maybe show you more of, but I have such a back catalog of games. I'm trying to cover the ones I already had before I go back and cover some of the other ones, but I'll probably still do that here and there, even though I haven't covered everything. I have like so many games I haven't even covered. It's disgusting, but I'm like OCD, and if I see a game for a reasonable price that I really want to play, even if I'm not playing that game at that particular moment right then and there, I have the intention of playing it later. So I have accumulated a back catalog of games. That's why sometimes people can make a suggestion about a PlayStation 3 game, which is probably the ones I have the most of, and I have a good chunk of the PlayStation 4 physical library. There's a lot of cool digital games on PlayStation 4 that I'd like to play. I saw that horror game, Layers of Fear, even though it didn't get the best reviews. Like, reviews aren't something I go by, which I've mentioned several times, but just the look of the game and the way that they created their atmosphere, a lot like this game. It kind of reminds me of the way the mansion and stuff looks at this game. I think this is the coolest looking Resident Evil, and I think the creepy haunted looking mansion setting is perfect for this type of game. To be honest with you, I was really excited about Final Fantasy VII, as were a lot of people, for the PlayStation 1, and it's definitely one of the reasons why I got a PlayStation 1, because I knew it got Squaresoft support, and Chrono Trigger, which was also a Square game. By the way, like, Square Enix, get on a Chrono Trigger game. Just make it a sequel. Don't worry if the other ones didn't sell that much. If the new game that you make is awesome and people don't know about the originals, they'll seek out the originals once they play a newer one. But just make a contemporary sequel, everything you want to. Because the thing about the first Chrono Trigger is that people from both Square and Enix worked on that game, and then they separated. Enix was its own company, Squaresoft was its own company. So they kind of became competitors. They were competitors, basically. And that's why, sorry if I'm it's buying me a lot of time every time I say but now that it's Square Enix and they've combined, they can do a proper sequel. Chrono Cross was a great game, don't get me wrong, and I like it a lot, although I feel like there was some lack of character development, because there was like 40 different characters in that game, and a lot of those characters are optional, and each one had their own story, so it was kind of all over the place. But the game itself and the main character, it was a great game. Unfortunately, someone like me, who's colorblind, the battle system focused on like this color system where you had to pick up on the color. Like there was like this little color gauge, and like when the enemy turned a certain color, you had to use a attack based on a different color to counteract that. So somebody like me had a little bit of trouble with that. But overall, it was a great game. But I would like to see a proper sequel, and there's so many possibilities because the game involved time travel. So you know, it's kind of like BioShock Infinite, where like there's like a million different scenarios that could take place with time travel, the butterfly effect, blah blah blah, quantum physics or whatever. But it was the best time travel game I ever played because you could time travel at will, and they created like alternate like timelines of the same area, and it was really cool just to explore that. I would love to see that in a game, but we're playing Resident Evil. That's why I said this is by no means a let's play, because sometimes I'm not even talking about the game. Here I'm trying to be proactive and trying to burn some of these zombies or whatever so they don't come back as Crimson Heads, because if they do, they can run towards you and kill you. Like, they basically run faster than you, or as fast as you do, but I think they would eventually catch up to you. But the mansion's sort of small, so they can so a lot of times you can turn around before they get to you, and it buys you time. But they can go through doors and stuff. Pretty much you're screwed. Like once you get the shotgun, it's a little bit easier, but you probably want to conserve the shotgun for bigger enemies, in my opinion. Like, this isn't one of those games where you can be Rambo. Based on my experience, from what I've noticed from easier mode, is this game actually has an even easier mode than the actual GameCube and Wii version, and that's the mode I'm playing as, just to make the video more interesting with the action and stuff like that. But as far as Crimson Heads go, they give you a decent amount of fuel, but based on from what I play, you don't have enough fuel to burn every single zombie. So at some point, you'll go against a Crimson Head. A matter of fact, I believe there's one point where you're actually required to fight one. I won't give anything away in specific detail, but mark my words, you'll fight a Crimson Head at some point, and you'll know the difference between a regular zombie and a Crimson Head. They not only look different, they sound different and act different. You get a lot of defensive weapons, I think, in this mode too, but you know, I don't know. I haven't played enough of this to tell you like all the subtle differences. If you get this on PC, if you blow up the head like I did right then and there, you don't have to light the zombies on fire because the head's destroyed. If you go by that logic, instead of using a lighter, you think that they'd just be able to like take a knife or something and like destroy the brain or stomp on the head like they do. But that's all random. That's like somebody rolling a 20-sided dice, and it rolls on a certain number, it blows their head up. Like, there's nothing you can do to like get a headshot and blow up the head every single time. That's a by chance thing. Although if you use a shotgun, which I don't recommend on a regular zombie, your chances of destroying the head are a lot greater, or significantly greater, whatever one sounds smarter to you. But yeah, so the PC version runs at 60 frames per second. Yes, I know with this type of game it doesn't matter that this game runs on 60 frames per second, but I find it interesting because this game's technically capable of running the game 60 frames per second, and the PC allows you to run the game at 60 frames per second. And I dragged that out, went per second. I don't know why I did that, but anyway, the people who made this game said that they purposely left the console versions to run at 30 frames, even though you could technically make it run at 60 frames per second due to creative reasoning. So I'm curious why they let the PC gamers have the option. The only thing I can think of is maybe because it's somewhat of a simple game, maybe PC gamers would have gotten upset and accused the developers of perhaps gimping the PC version because of the frame cap on it. So I don't know, maybe they did that to try to avoid that argument, so PC gamers could say that they have something one up over a console gamer. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why you keep on having to say it. It's like, it's really obvious that unless you get like a shitty port or something, that PC gamers will always have the advantage graphic wise if they have decent enough hardware. I mean, you honestly should have better hardware for what you pay for it. I mean, no arguments there. I just like the streamlinedness of the console. Just playing on console is comforting to me. Like, I have nothing against people who play on PC or anything like that. I just prefer to play on a console. I've talked about it many times. There's not much more for me to say about it, but it would be nice if the PC versions of the games had options that could be done on console. If we could get those options too, I just think it would be fair, because even though this game doesn't really require it, I've seen screenshots run at 60 frames per second. I mean, not screenshots, videos, sorry if this video is really kind of spacey today. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's because I have a lot on my mind, but at this point, like, it's me saying the same thing over and over again. But I don't know, it's just one of those days where you feel like, I don't know, just like blah. But I wanted to make a video. These videos are kind of therapeutic for me. Look how professional I am. I didn't recharge my controller. I'm trying this new system out where, like, I'm draining one controller at a time all the way. So once that controller drains, like, I'll start recharging that and switch the controller that I was charging, so I don't develop like a memory in the batteries, which newer batteries really don't have that issue as much. But I noticed in my first DualShock 4 controller, maybe they just make them better, I don't know, it doesn't hold nearly as good of a charge when I was just charging it whenever I was done playing. So now that I have two controllers, I'm charging one at all times, and once the one that I'm using runs out, I switch. But it kind of gets a little bit annoying when people come over, because I need to get a new micro USB cord, because like the cord that came with the PlayStation 3 is so short. So in order, because I try to be accommodating, so I'm like, look, you can sit on the couch. So here I am with this short ass fucking cord sitting really close to the TV, closer than I normally do, like on the floor. Like, I look like an idiot, but you know, it's whatever. I need to just bite the bullet and get another one just in case. But I don't have company over too much where we have sit down sessions and play video games. I recently played Rocket League with a friend, which I kind of had the game downloaded because it was one of those free PlayStation Plus games, and I was like, yeah, this is cool, I could see how this could be interesting or whatever. And I played it like a couple of times, never thought much of it, and didn't touch it again. But my friend came over and he's like, yeah, I saw a lot of videos of this, and maybe I'll do a video Rocket League, a real one, not like a recording off of the PlayStation Network, not PlayStation Network, but the PlayStation Share button that I've shared a couple of times. I think I put 2 Rocket League videos up. Maybe I'll do a video of it. There's really not much to say because I'm not super enthusiastic about it, but like when I had a friend over, that's when I finally really, I guess, got what the game was about, fun factor wise. I wonder if I can't remember. I recorded this video quite some time ago, and this is this is obviously an older game, but you know, I recorded Street Fighter 5 before this video, so you got a newer video of a newer game at some point, so I'm not just recording older games or games that aren't relevant anymore, although I would still consider this relevant since you can still buy it at the store, and I highly recommend it. I think this game alone, even though it comes with 2 games, is worth $60, and it's at least $40 here for 2 games in the US. You can buy the games separately, I believe, for $19.99, but if you can get a physical copy, I will tell you the differences are kind of disappointing as far as the packaging goes. When I imported just the first Resident Evil from Japan, it not only had a double-sided cover where you could switch it to Biohazard to Resident Evil, because I think they knew people were going to import it, but it also came with a thick manual in English and in color. That's something you rarely ever see here. When I got this game that came with Resident Evil 0, which is actually 2 games in one, so you think the manual would be even thicker if you got a proper manual. I can't remember, I'd have to go back and look at my old disc, but I can't remember if even the GameCube version was in color or not. I don't think the Wii version was, but I could be wrong, because it was like a archived, it was kind of like a, I'd say it was like a budget title, but I don't think the price was, although I bought it as a budget title because I think I got it used or whatever, because I already gave them my money before. I mean, once you start buying games multiple times, I don't feel that guilty about getting used copies of something. But yeah, this game is well worth it. I just think half of this game is worth a full price game if you ask me. You get at least 10 hours out of this game, unless you're super quick and know everything. Maybe you can play the game faster, but the average person will spend around 10 hours on this game. I like this game a lot, but thank you guys so much for watching, and take care. Bye.
If you want to, like, comment, and subscribe! Thanks for watching!